All right, welcome back. We got a quick video for you guys today. We're going to talk about NVIDIA. We're going to talk about NVIDIA's earnings, and in my opinion, what's going on with NVIDIA, what that has to say with a lot of other ecosystems. So here's a weekly chart of NVIDIA, just killing it. And when we scroll out even further, just unbelievable. And this week they had their earnings. So let's take a look at those. So here is NVIDIA's Q3 earnings over the years. So this is just one quarter out of the year, but it shows the monster growth that they've had as of late. So we've gone from 6 billion last year in Q3 to 18 billion this year. And not only that, it's their margin. Their margin's up 20% year over year. Their net profit is up 588%. Earnings per share up 593%. So what this company is doing is unreal, unbelievable. Now, we all know why. It is because of AI. And NVIDIA, they have the best of the best chips. So when we look at the pros and cons of NVIDIA, they have the best of the best. They obviously have insane growth and insane profitability. They've always been a good growth company and insanely profitable, but it's getting out of hand. It's just mind-boggling, these numbers that they're doing. So and again, that is because of the AI build-out is just starting. So NVIDIA, they make high-end graphics cards, like in this laptop. But the big case here is the data center. So right here, we've got their earnings snapshot. The big chunk is from their data center, almost $15 billion in revenue, and almost all that's profit, $9.2 billion of profit. The other big segment for them is gaming, and then you've got automotive. I know you can't see because my head's in the way, and that's mainly it. So again, the data center is what's driving the growth, and these big companies are having to upgrade their data centers so they can handle all the compute that is coming their way. All the compute for streaming, right? Because streaming used to be plugged into a dish or hardwired in through a coax cable. Now all that's being streamed through your Wi-Fi, your internet. But those companies still have to host that, right? So if you're broadbanding a lot of video out there, you look at YouTube, if you're watching this. So a lot of things are going to the cloud, going to the data center. And the big one now is AI. So AI, it's all being computed on the data center. When you go onto ChatGPT and you ask it a question, your computer locally is not having to work that hard. It's asking the question to a supercomputer somewhere in Seattle or San Francisco or China or wherever. So those data centers are having to get upgraded to handle the extra compute and the more complex problems that we're having it do. So right now we're in the middle of the AI build out, or the beginning, and NVIDIA, they own the market. So all those reasons are why the stock is looking the way it looks. So now let's quickly go over some of the cons. Some of the cons is competition coming, because right now NVIDIA owns the market, and we'll get into that in a little bit. The valuation, it's not the cheapest, but you can't argue with these numbers. If they have another quarter like this, they're going to be a value stock based, because they keep growing into their valuation. Another con for me is that it's run up so much this year. It's hard to buy something that's up 200% plus. I want exposure to this name. It's just hard to buy something that's ran up so fast. And the other question here, because it's such a gold rush, how much of this is going to stick? Right now they own the market, but there's competition coming up the rear. And The competition is going to be companies like Microsoft, AMD, Amazon, Google. They're all trying to make their own chips. So really quick, I'm going to have to make a separate video to go over this, but I want to show you guys the semiconductor ecosystem. So right here, there's a pyramid. So at the very top, you have the foundries. These are the companies that actually manufacture the chips. They take the raw products and they stamp out the chips, and then they send them to the companies. Then you have the chip companies. You have the fab and the wafer equipment. You've got materials. You've got the design. You've got the IP, right? So there's all these different sectors and these different categories. And when we look at this pyramid here, it's the same thing but without the labels. So at the top, you've got the foundries. Then you've got the foundry-less designers. So NVIDIA is a designer of chips. They don't have plants where they manufacture the chips. They design them, and then they go to TSMC and say, hey, here's our design, make these chips. We just got a fresh order from Microsoft for their data center. We need 1 million chips. So then underneath them, you've got the equipment manufacturers. So you've got the ASML, the Lam Research, the KLA. They make the machines that make the chips. So Taiwan Semi buys from ASML. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but you can see that all of these support each other. So when we look at NVIDIA, what's happening with NVIDIA is going to benefit the rest or other parts of this pyramid. So you want to own this whole pyramid or most of it, because what's happening with NVIDIA, they're going to see more, NVIDIA is going to have more business with TSMC. TSMC is going to have to buy more machines because they're also building factories in Arizona and Texas, not just Taiwan. So there's a lot going on here. Plus, there's a government cheese coming into this industry. You've got the CHIPS Act. There's going to be a lot of money that's going to continue to flood into these businesses so they can use their products and services in America. So that's just on taking a step back, looking at this whole ecosystem. But when I ask the question here in the cons, is this a Tesla or is this an Intel? Because Intel used to be the top dog, and then they got complacent, they didn't innovate, and other companies were coming up the rear. I don't think that's going to be the case with NVIDIA, because people made the same case with the Tesla. Wait till the competition comes and you're going to see the fall of Tesla. We've seen competition starting to come, but they just can't catch up. Rivian looks good, but they just can't scale yet. So that's the question I have here. Is NVIDIA going to fall back like an Intel, or are they going to keep their lead like a Tesla? I have a feeling they're going to keep their lead like a Tesla, but I still think you're going to see other companies start to take from NVIDIA's pie. So maybe their margin goes down, maybe their revenue growth goes down a little bit, but I still think they're a phenomenal company. But I don't own this company because of these risks. I need to see the competition come and go, if they will, because NVIDIA is over $1 trillion company. So my question is, how long till I see it double? If NVIDIA is $1 trillion company and the rising water is going to raise all boats in this industry, I look at a company like an Intel, and they're not even 200 billion. So is it a far question for AMD to go from 200 billion to 500 billion in the next 10 years? Seems highly probable. But for NVIDIA to go from 1 trillion to 2 trillion, that's a big jump. So my point here is I think you want exposure to not just NVIDIA, but the whole industry. And for that reason, I own the SMH. Now, I've mentioned the SMH, but I haven't gone a deep dive into it. So this is, we're talking about NVIDIA. I love NVIDIA, but I own NVIDIA through the SMH. I think NVIDIA is still like 25% of the SMH just because it's grown so much. And eventually that'll get rebalanced, right? So if NVIDIA turns into an Intel, they will limit their exposure by trimming some of the NVIDIA and going and buying the incumbent winner. Another way that I think you can play this space is through the cloud computing. So all these data centers that NVIDIA is building is going into Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Oracle. They're building these machines for those companies, and then you're watching Amazon Prime Video, all those things. So this is how the ecosystem is working. So those guys are going to see a benefit. They're going to continue to grow. Microsoft Azure is going to continue to grow. AWS, Google Cloud, yada, yada, yada. But for me, the SMH is something that I dollar cost average in every month. This is in my my business IRA. So this is, for me, it's illiquid. I'm not selling this until I retire. And I just slowly buy monthly. And when there's opportunities and drawdowns, I'll allocate more. So I wanted to go over that. I want to talk about NVIDIA. I want to give them their props, give them their flowers. Phenomenal business. But we're in a gold rush right now, and everyone and their mom is looking around saying, how can we do a little bit of what NVIDIA does? So the question is going to be, how strong, how much of a moat do they have against competition, which I think is good. But we'll have to wait and see. Again, exciting times right now with the AI stuff. And it's only going to continue to grow because right now we're just building the foundation for it. We haven't got to the top of that pyramid. So that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. Go over the chips. I need to make a separate video going over that whole pyramid, the whole ecosystem in a little bit more depth. But for this video, that was good enough. That's all I got for you guys. Happy Friday. Peace out.